It's like, it's just a big commotion. So I was just letting the fans just kind of relax. Like we're not here to hurt anyone. It's a basketball play, and that's what it's going to do. We're going to continue to make basketball plays, and it's going to be physical, is what we're trained to do. But that was my biggest thing, was just kind of be a fan. Yes, cheer for your team. That's okay. But at the same time, this is our job. I'm not going to hurt E-Dub, and she knows that. I'm actually checking to make sure she's okay. So I don't like the instigating. It doesn't help our game. It doesn't grow our game. So that's what I was telling people, just to kind of relax. Like, it's okay.
The Las Vegas Aces, the team once destined for a three-peat, are unraveling faster than a dollar store lawn chair. 3 straight losses? Check. A defense that's leaking buckets like a busted pipe? Double check. And somehow, A'ja Wilson is still getting MVP-level praise, like nothing's wrong. While the media keeps handing her crowns, another player is out here breaking records, dominating every stat line and dragging her team to success without excuses. Spoiler alert, it's not A'ja Wilson. Maybe it's time to stop handing out MVPs on reputation and start watching what's actually happening on the court.
And this is a problem is that in general, when it comes to WNBA talk, you cannot say that A'ja Wilson's not the best player in the world when she's not. Napheesa Collier is on a 7-0 Minnesota Lynx team and is averaging 26.3 points and 8.3 rebounds per game, and she's doing it on 51% from the field and 45% from 3.
The Las Vegas Aces have just dropped 3 straight games. For the first time since 2019, 3 in a row. The last time that happened, Bill Laimbeer was still calling the shots, and we all remember how that chapter closed. But here's the wild part. Even with this rough start and a record that screams mid, A'ja Wilson is still being hyped like she's carrying the entire WNBA on her shoulders. The team's falling apart, momentum is gone, but the praise, louder than ever. It's starting to feel less like analysis and more like autopilot MVP campaigning, regardless of the results.
Before Clark's injury, she was under 115 to win the award, while Collier sat at over 160. But as of earlier this week, Collier now sits at under 175 to win the award, while Clark's MVP odds lengthened to over 250. Collier's averaging almost 30.7 rebounds and 3 assists, and the Lynx are currently undefeated, sitting first in the WNBA standings.
Meanwhile, up in Minnesota, Napheesa Collier is putting on a masterclass in what real MVP basketball looks like. She's not just showing out, she's showing out, rewriting the narrative with every game. The contrast between her and A'ja Wilson is so glaring, you'd need shades just to process it. Let's break down the numbers, because stats tell the truth even when the hype doesn't. A'ja's averaging 22.8 points and 10.5 rebounds, a strong stat line, no doubt. But here's the catch. Those numbers aren't translating into wins for a team built to dominate. Meanwhile, Collier is stacking victories and carrying the Lynx like a one-woman dynasty. Now that's MVP behavior.
A'ja shouldn't have won MVP last year. She has all these pieces, all these big names, and they're struggling. They're struggling. Napheesa Collier has, if we going band for band, Napheesa Collier has way less help. We're talking about superstardom. And she had a team in the finals, and right now they're 3-0, 4-0. She's averaging 30.
Now let's talk about Napheesa Collier, who's out here averaging an impressive 26.3 points and 8.3 rebounds per game, all while shooting an incredible 51.4% from the field. And get this, she's doing all of this, leading her team to a perfect 7-0 start. 7-0. That's more than just good basketball. That's dominance. Her performance is the kind that makes you sit back and say, that's what an MVP looks like. Collier isn't just contributing, she's elevating her team to new heights, proving she's a force to be reckoned with this season.
If a WNBA game was as long as an NBA game, Napheesa Collier would be averaging more points per game than anyone, men or women. She's averaging 30 points per game this season, and her spin move to the left and the pull-up might be the most unguardable shot in all of basketball. If you're on her back and you see her start to turn over that right shoulder, just start running down to set up the offense. And if she gets a head of steam going to the basket, she can put on the brakes or blow by you to scoop to the rim. She can score pretty much any way she wants as long as she's in the paint. She's even got the little Dirk fadeaway. Dog. Oh, and she's shooting 54% from 3. After winning Defensive Player of the Year last season, it looks like she's got her sights set on MVP this year.
If you are enjoying, please subscribe. The Las Vegas Aces 2025 season has been a disappointing reflection of unmet expectations. Once lauded as the WNBA's unstoppable dynasty and reigning back-to-back champions, they have stumbled early in the season. Their campaign started with a 92-78 loss to the New York Liberty, followed by a heavy 102-82 defeat to the Seattle Storm. Defensively, their rating has declined from 97.7 in 2023 to 99.6, a drop head coach Becky Hammon attributes to a lack of old-school accountability. Despite these struggles, A'ja Wilson, the Aces' superstar forward and reigning MVP, continues to dominate headlines, earning accolades and admiration for her consistent brilliance on the court. Meanwhile, Napheesa Collier of the Minnesota Lynx has flown under the radar but is making waves with averages of 26.3 points and 8.3 rebounds, guiding her team to an undefeated 7-0 start. The Aces' issues are rooted in more than just bad luck. They reflect a systemic breakdown. The sudden retirement of Candace Parker in April 2024 gutted the team's depth, leaving Wilson, Kelsey Plum, and Jackie Young to shoulder an unsustainable burden. Parker's absence created a leadership void and diminished versatility, prompting roster upheavals like trading Plum to the Sparks and acquiring Jewel Lloyd. The result has been a fragile, anemic bench that even Wilson's 31-point game against New York couldn't mask, highlighting the team's ongoing struggles.
The Las Vegas Aces are 4-2 on the season. She is averaging 23, 10.5 rebounds, 4.2 assists, and a lot of steals on 47% from the field and 26% from three. So Fia is shooting 4% better from the field, 20% better from three. Am I right in saying that? Yeah, 20% better from three. And she is also not statistically as good a defender, but she's a better defender. She's still averaging a crazy amount of stocks, but she is the better defender because she's more versatile. She defends better on the perimeter. She's not as good a shot blocker, which A'ja Wilson is, but she actually guards people. A'ja Wilson just chills under the basket. And in terms of getting in passing lanes, they're very similar. So, Fia is the best player in the world.
But here's where things get really interesting. The spotlight is firmly on A'ja Wilson, the Vegas darling, who dominates media coverage, highlight reels, and the She's incredible commentary, while Napheesa Collier is quietly emerging as the betting favorite for MVP, currently at 170 odds. Let that realization settle. Wilson's averages of 22.8 points and 10.5 rebounds per game look impressive on paper, but they mask deeper issues within the team. The Aces' once stellar defense has become a liability, now allowing an average of 10 three-pointers per game, the second worst in the league. Their historic 28-point collapse against Chicago in 2022 saw Wilson's 20 points and 18 rebounds become meaningless as the Sky exploited defensive lapses and transition mistakes. Fast forward to 2025. Seattle's 75-70 victory over Vegas featured Wilson's 19-point effort, but the Storm shot just 43.1% overall and 36.4% from three, exposing the Aces' inability to clamp down when it counts. While Wilson's numbers are still impressive, they are increasingly disconnected from winning performance. Oddsmakers, professionals whose job is to predict outcomes based on actual performance, have Collier as the clear MVP favorite. Wilson, she's sitting at plus 700. That's not even close. It's no longer a debate between two great players. It's evident one is outperforming the other significantly, and the gap is widening.
I have Napheesa Collier winning Defensive Player of the Year this season. Like I said, I think she is coming back into this season with a vengeance, and I saw so much good defense from her in Unrivaled. And I think that's one thing about Unrivaled in that 3-on-3 full court format, and even with the one-on-one games that we saw, players were getting exposed if they weren't able to guard one-on-one on defense. And Napheesa is somebody who exposed a lot of players with her defensive abilities, with her blocking abilities, with how quick she has gotten. She continues to elevate her game, and so I have her as a favorite, as my favorite for Defensive Player of the Year.
The WNBA general managers seem to have a clear understanding of the situation. In their annual survey, 67% of them selected Collier as the MVP favorite, while Wilson received 25% and Breanna Stewart only 8%. When the insiders responsible for building teams and making personnel decisions openly endorse Collier as the top candidate, perhaps it's time for the broader audience to listen. Now, let's look at what Collier did at the start of this season. Her debut against Dallas was extraordinary. 34 points, in a game that wasn't just good, but outstanding. That night alone is enough to make opposing coaches wake up in cold sweats. She then backed it up with 23 points against the Sparks, giving her a total of 57 points in the first 2 games, the most by a Lynx player since Maya Moore dropped 67 points to start the 2014 season. And guess what? Maya Moore went on to win MVP that year. The narrative surrounding these two players couldn't be more different. Wilson is often portrayed as carrying her team, especially amid the Aces' struggles, while Collier is seen as having a nice season despite leading her team to perfection. Let's be honest about Vegas. This isn't just a slow start or early season rust. The Aces are facing fundamental issues. Their defense, once their strongest suit, is giving up nearly 10 three-warners per game, ranking second worst in the league. Their pace has slowed, assists are down, and they're missing their floor leader, Chelsea Gray. These aren't minor problems, they're signs that maybe they're not as dominant as they once seemed. The team's struggles highlight deeper issues that can't be fixed overnight, and the MVP conversation is increasingly favoring Collier's consistent excellence over Wilson's flash.
Watching this team, you can tell that something is off on both sides of the floor. This could be due to not having built the chemistry they need with the new addition of Jewel Lloyd, but this is still unacceptable output by this team. We're talking about a team that literally coming into this season, a lot of people had contending for a championship, and it doesn't look like they're going to.
Throughout all of this, A'ja Wilson continues to put up solid numbers in a system that's clearly malfunctioning. She's averaging around 20 points and 10 rebounds per game, but her team is losing games they should be winning and appearing vulnerable against opponents they should dominate easily. Meanwhile, Napheesa Collier is producing even better numbers in a well-oiled, efficient system, leading her team to victories that seem almost effortless. The story on the defensive end offers an even more striking contrast. Wilson is often credited as a dominant interior presence, blocking shots, altering opponents' attempts, and she deserves recognition for that. But Collier was named Defensive Player of the Year last season and finished second in MVP voting, showcasing her ability on both ends of the floor at an elite level. Yet her defensive prowess receives less attention than Wilson's offensive and interior dominance. What truly frustrates me about this situation isn't the players themselves. Both Wilson and Collier are exceptional athletes who earn respect and recognition. The issue lies with the league's favoritism and how it influences narratives and media coverage. Wilson has been the league's golden girl for years. Even when her performance doesn't quite match the hype, or when her team struggles, she still dominates the spotlight. Her resume, 2 MVP awards, 2 championships, Olympic gold, cement her as a media icon. Honors like Time's 2025 Women of the Year and LeBron James's praise after her game-winning shot against Chicago reinforce her legendary status, regardless of team success. This legacy bias is amplified by the league's marketing strategies, which tend to prioritize established stars over emerging talents. Wilson's career is often framed as the greatest in WNBA history, a narrative that overshadows Collier's current excellence and achievements. The league's focus on Wilson makes it difficult for the broader story, one of rising stars and emerging greatness, to get the recognition it deserves.
Napheesa Collier averaged 40 points in a playoff series last year. She was the finals MVP. And I understand, fair play, congratulations to Jonquel Jones winning it, but it was daylight robbery. Everybody knows. LeBron James was calling the WNBA rigged. Damian Lillard was calling the WNBA rigged. Everybody knows that that the WNBA final was, if not rigged, at least was decided by horrific refereeing. We all know that. So Napheesa Collier won MVP and Unrivaled, was by far the best player.
Look at the team records. The Minnesota Lynx are a perfect 7-0 flawless and looking like real championship contenders, while the Vegas Aces are only 4-2, coming off a 3-game losing streak that exposed some vulnerabilities. When evaluating team success and individual impact, the difference is clear. Collier is leading her team toward greatness, inspiring confidence and consistency. In contrast, Wilson's team is struggling to meet expectations, despite her impressive individual numbers. And this isn't about some unknown rookie riding a hot streak. Collier's resume is remarkable. She was the runner-up for MVP last year, won Defensive Player of the Year, led her team to the finals, and recently earned MVP honors in the inaugural Unrivaled League. She's demonstrated excellence at every level and continues to elevate her game. Watching her play confirms her influence. She impacts every possession, scores efficiently, creates for teammates, and makes clutch plays when it matters most. Meanwhile, Wilson's stats, while solid, are on a team that's underperforming. Her individual performance is impressive, but the overall team context reveals a disparity. Her numbers alone don't tell the full story of her impact or the success of her team.
Napheesa Collier is a great player. One of the top 3 players in the league, maybe better than that. She has everything. She moves well without the ball. She moves well with the ball. She can get to her spots, hit you with that little fadeaway that there's nothing you can do about. She can play defense in a variety of ways, inside, out. Just a tremendous player. One of the reasons she's one of the co-founders along with Brianna Stewart is because she's a great player. And the reason she won the tournament is because she was better than everyone else who was in it. And the rest of it just sounds like crying to me.
The bias in coverage becomes glaringly obvious. Turn on any WNBA broadcast, browse sports websites, or scroll through social media, and A'ja Wilson's name dominates the discussion. Collier, on the other hand, is often mentioned only in passing, either as having a good season or as a contender in the MVP race. Meanwhile, the statistics and metrics clearly show that Collier is leading the MVP race in almost every significant category. Betting markets, general managers, and on-sort performance all point to her as the frontrunner. Yet the narrative stubbornly clings to the idea that Wilson remains the standard, despite the overwhelming evidence indicating otherwise. However, when the media and analysts ignore factual performance in favor of entrenched narratives, it undermines fairness, and fairness for players like Collier, who are currently performing at historically elite levels. Recognizing reality ensures a more honest and equitable assessment of talent.
People will say, I love A'ja Wilson's game, but she has this victim mindset and her mentality. It just turns me away from watching her and supporting her. And this is not a white and black thing. This is an everybody as a whole thing. It's going to turn people away. If you're going to play the face, there's obligations that come with it. And I'm not saying it's fair, but that's what happens. You're looked at as the highest standard. So you have to be on your P's and Q's, man. Unfortunately, you can't make one mistake.
When a player guides her team to an undefeated start, delivers MVP caliber numbers, tops the MVP betting odds, and receives the majority of league executive votes, she deserves recognition and respect for her performance. The WNBA clearly has its favorites, and it's obvious. However, basketball is ultimately decided on the court, not through press releases or highlight reels. Right now, on the court, Napheesa Collier is demonstrating what true excellence looks like. Perhaps it's time for the league and its media partners to acknowledge this reality. Because, at the end of the day, numbers don't lie, and wins are the ultimate measure of success. Collier has both, consistently showcasing her dominance. In contrast, Wilson, despite her accolades, doesn't hold the same level of recent achievement in either category. Until the Aces find a way to reclaim their championship form, perhaps it's time to stop elevating Wilson as the ultimate standard of greatness. The season is still in its early stages, but the message is clear. A new leader has emerged, and her name is Napheesa Collier. The real question is whether anyone will have the courage to admit it. If you enjoyed leaving a like and subscribing, more videos are on the screen now.